and welcome to episode 17 of the F1GridView. This is Harsh Sangvi and your co-host Mihika Shah. Hi Mihika.
Hi.
How was the race?
Um, I mean, the beginning
Wait.
was
Box. No, it doesn't work. Like, get in the pits. Like,
no, you could.
they really made Science pit in the middle of him fighting, and like he beautifully just said, "Screw it, I'm not quitting right now."
But like, I don't think they were watching the race.
We'll get to that Ferrari stuff later. How was the race for you otherwise?
Okay, so the beginning was pretty boring, I would say.
Yeah.
And I think around the time I said that this is too boring, I don't think it's gonna get any entertaining. Within the next few laps, Charles had that crash and
Correct.
he DNF'd. And like I remember seeing the update and then waiting to figure out who has crashed because I
Yeah.
definitely didn't want Verstappen to be that person who
Correct.
ended up crashing.
Correct.
So yeah, it was honestly after that when things changed, it became much better and it was more entertaining, I would say.
Okay. Fair. I really
Well,
liked how it went. The unexpected podiums, getting a double Ferrari podium was nice.
yeah, but like every time there's Red Bull and Mercedes on podium, the old memes start surfacing about
Yep.
all these change in regulations only to finally have Red Bull and Mercedes back on the podium. So
Yeah, but it takes a beautiful strategy by Ferrari to let that happen. Uh, okay, let's just get into that Ferrari bashing.
yeah. So firstly,
Okay,
it was
no, wait. Let's let me just get some. Let me just at least look like the Ferrari strategy, right? So as you see, we Ferrari strategist did have a great weekend. You have to agree with us. We had a long pit stop behind the virtual safety car with Carlos. We almost got into crash into Albon, and that would have made our race. But Albon and him survived, like didn't crash into each other. It got even better because we tried ruining Carlos's race again by telling him he had a 5 second stop and go penalty, but he's a little smarter and he caught on to us and said he only had a 5 second penalty. So, like, we tried that, you can't fault us for trying to ruin his race there. And yeah, right when he saw him battling Perez and getting closer to overtake him, and when he was right there, like driving side by side and giving his full concentration, we decided to call him into pit. So, yeah, fun times at Ferrari. We try to do this all the time.
yeah, so I wanted to know if your plans basically are B for barriers, C for call in at the wrong time, D
Yeah.
for DNF, E
E
for
for
explode.
explode. Yeah, we tend to do this. So what we do is we basically have 26 plans ready from A to Z. We make Charles and Science sit and they learn all 26 of them. And during the race, what we do is, so plan A is always to win. We don't keep that in that mix. So we put the rest of the plans, put them in a bin, and we randomly pick one off, and yeah, whatever that is, and that's how the race is gonna go. So yeah.
Yeah, so I have seen a lot of people have DM'd you the next week's strategies. So
Yeah.
would you be looking at that?
No, we tend to just block them all because the strategies they send us actually might help us win and take the podium. So no, those don't work for us.
So you just basically want Enzo Ferrari somewhere to, okay.
Done like times like we did 150.
Okay, so we can edit some parts out.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah. So we don't use this for the podcast then?
We can use it.
Okay.
You
The
just
editing is
cut.
gonna be a mess.
No, so see, now clap again and cut this section out.
Got it.
This section we use for the reel and the one that is already in the podcast, let it be.
Fair enough. Where to go? Are you shutting your door? No, I was paused, so I'll start it after you shut it. So yeah, it was great having a Ferrari strategist talk about how they work and everything. So yeah, that was pretty good.
That's pretty insightful, and
Yeah.
let's hope to catch on with them once again.
So yeah, controversial stuff after the race. apparently they missed out on some signals during the virtual safety car where we thought Perez was caught napping by George, but apparently they sent out two signals and Perez was not sure which one was which, and he didn't actually start on time, and George Russell did like just zoom ahead of him just as the virtual safety car ended. So yeah, there is something that is going on with the FIA and the virtual safety car where Red Bull's not very happy with how that worked out because it definitely lost them a podium place.
Yeah.
So
But
yeah,
it was like, aside of all of this, the fact that both the Mercedes were back on the podium was pretty good to watch for
yep,
most of it.
definitely.
But I mean, let's see how the FIA reacts to it. But yeah,
Correct. So yeah, that's gonna be. I don't think that there's any change happening, but yeah, they might just make the rules better so that it doesn't happen again.
yeah,
Uh, One of my favorite parts of the race was just Alonso on his team radio. You know what a Chad he is when he's just asking his team, saying that he's gonna drive slower so the McLarens can follow him, but obviously they're not gonna get ahead, and by doing so, Norris can ruin his tires. I mean, like he's 42 and 41, and the strategies that he's coming out mid-race are fantastic. Maybe he could just plan Sainz and Charles strategies also for Ferrari mid-race while he's working for
yeah. But then,
himself.
like we spoke to the strategists, they don't want them to win,
Correct. Fair
so
enough.
that
Fair
won't
enough.
work out for them.
Yeah.
But like, I think the best thing of the whole weekend was in all the practices and everything, Lando just going past all these drivers just to wave them.
He loves doing that. So every practice session, every qualifying, he'll end up waving. We saw Max giving him the finger. That was
Yeah.
nice. We saw how close they are anyways, like the post after the race also where they
Yeah.
say they shared they
It
had
was
now have
honestly,
27 they have 27 victories among themselves. So yeah, cute stuff there.
and then Max replying to it that he needs to bottle some up before he starts winning races,
Yeah,
which
so
hopefully won't be too long a wait.
correct. So starting in the race, I really did agree with what penalty Ocon got after the incident with Yuki. I think a 5 second penalty was just a little too lenient, where you completely
Yeah.
ruined Yuki's race from
I
P8.
mean, if you go to see the 5 second time penalty that we got in one of the last few races where
Yeah,
FIA was just giving it to everyone, compared to that, this looks pretty lenient because that's something that, you know, uh, we saw the damage on Yuki's car.
yeah. I don't know what, but I think the FIA is going on this direction where if it's the first lap, they don't penalize them too much or they don't give them a lot of penalties. But I really think that a penalty like this
Yeah.
definitely needs a 5 second or a ten
So
second stop and go
I,
penalty.
yeah, definitely. And I saw one of these hot takes that Sebastian Vettel should retire. Whenever he retires, he should take up the position of the race director. So, what are
There
your
is no way
views on
Seb's doing that. There is no way Seb is going to come back to the racing track once he retires. He's just going to be home with his bees and trying to save the planet. He's not coming back to the racetrack even once. So I think we can forget that. Yeah,
it? Okay, let's move to the qualification.
sure.
Okay, first thoughts.
Uh, yeah, first thoughts. Leclerc putting up on podium, so that means we do get a Verstappen victory. So yeah, just that.
So, both the poles are equal now. Perez
Correct.
at 6, sorry, Verstappen at 16 and Charles at 16. But the wins are far apart.
Yep, 27 to what?
6, I
27
think.
to 6. That is okay. So yeah, Verstappen maximizing on his poles and Charles not being able to do the same. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. So firstly, we have Q3 where we had 5 drivers being eliminated. Pierre Gasly, the hometown boy, eliminated very early in his Alpha Tauri with the new updates on the car. Whereas Yuki did put it up to P8. So I mean that's got to sting somehow, being the experienced driver. Lance Stroll P17, Joe P18, Mick P19, and Latifi P20. One person I was very happy for was Seb, who made it out of Q3
Finally.
finally.
But that
Finally,
costed Mick Schumacher, I would say,
yeah,
because Mick has been performing pretty good lately, and he wasn't in Q2.
Correct. Correct. They had his lap time eliminated. He was, I think, P14 or P13, and he got his lap deleted for exceeding track
Yeah.
limits. So yeah, Q2.
We had Vettel, we had Albon,
Yes.
he had Bottas, Esteban Ocon, and Daniel
Daniel.
Ricciardo.
Yeah.
He
By eight
missed
hundredths of a
very
second.
early. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was just hurtful.
Yeah.
Specifically when we knew that Magnussen and Carlos weren't going to be,
Correct.
participating in
I
the
didn't
front of
understand why Magnussen was still going. Carlos is obviously they had to give the
they
toe. So
definitely. But
yeah,
like
but
I
I
would
didn't
really loved if, Magnussen wasn't there and Daniel got a chance to,
say
just get a chance at Q3.
yeah. One of my favorite parts of the race was just the lap that Carlos did in Q2. Like the purple sectors he kept hitting and so
Yeah.
beautifully done. If you see all the laps, had one of the quickest laps at 31 with 0.81.
After
Um,
yeah, sorry.
that I mean, if Carlos was there fighting for this, he would have finished on pole according to me this week.
Definitely, definitely. And like after the quali, I really expected him to shoot up and reach the podium places. Even
Correct.
though
He would
I
have,
feel
but the Ferrari's
he would
the
have
strategy
if
tried
Ferrari
really hard
didn't. Yeah,
not to give him that place.
yeah. I was really looking forward to that though.
Yeah. So yeah, we had Kevin Magnussen and Carlos who were going to start from the back of the grid after taking engine and PU upgrades.
Yeah,
So you had Yuki at P8, you had Fernando Alonso P7, you had Lando Norris in between the Mercedes sandwich with Lewis P4 and George P6, Sergio P3, Max P2, and Carlos P1. I mean, as much as Charles did have a fantastic lap, the toe really did help him. And I mean, there was a big gap, but I don't think that gap would have been as big if not for the toe that Carlos gave him.
definitely. I mean, we have seen Max make two yellow sectors and ending up on pole.
Yes.
And if the toe wouldn't have been there, it could have been a possibility of
No,
happening
I
again.
still feel if the toe was not there, it would have been Leclerc because Leclerc is very good on a single lap. His single lap pace is fantastic, and Ferrari
Yeah.
has like they really know how to tune the car perfectly for the qualifying. It's just the race where they're really screwing up now, and not really for Ferrari's mistake that Charles was out of the race, but yeah.
Okay, so moving to the points if qualification was the case.
Yes, we still have Charles at P1. We still
Yeah.
have Charles at P1, and he keeps exceeding his points. But yeah, these don't count for much. So sadly, there's nothing he can do here. You have Charles at 244 and Max at 219. Yeah, pretty good. One thing is very surprising is that Latifi is ahead of Albon. The the only time the Williams has got to Q3 and Nicholas Latifi getting the points that puts him ahead of Alex. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, so race
Okay.
results. Race
I
results.
it's just wow.
Okay then. Uh, yeah, you have Latifi, Magnussen, Leclerc, and Sonoda DNFing.
Yeah.
Yuki crashing out a lap one. Leclerc's hitting the barriers. Magnussen not having a great race, starting from the back, but having some pit stop strategical errors, making three pit stops and not knowing what is happening in the race. I think like has really missed out because he did get 6 or 7 overtakes by lap two. He was already P13, so he zoomed ahead everybody. Latifi also retiring from the race, not from F1. Uh, then you had Joe P16 and Schumacher P15.
Okay, so Bottas P14. Firstly, Fernando finally has the most laps.
Oh yes, after finishing 2 racing laps, he has overtaken Kimi Raikkonen.
Yes. And the best thing of the race, other than a few other things, has to be how Daniel Ricciardo was defensive.
Oh yes, keeping Ocon behind for almost 16 to 17 laps, where he had a much faster car.
It was just amazing.
Yeah, he just had DRS. Ocon had DRS for almost every lap, and Daniel still found a way to keep him behind for 16 laps. He said it himself. He has good pace. The first half of the race goes well, and then suddenly
Yeah.
he just drops off a cliff.
But it's also like for the first few races, at least, it was some or the other issue on the end of McLaren.
Correct.
Then there have been a few slow races for him.
Yeah,
But again, like we saw him start P9, end P9, which was pretty good for this race.
correct.
And another thing is, I was seeing all these past races and how Daniel Ricciardo has grown. It was honestly just really good. And I do feel that, if he gets uh, adjusted in the next 2, 3 races, he can, at least reach podium places.
Yeah, and they've been consistent. They know it themselves. They're not as quick as the Alpines, and
Yeah,
they've got P7 and P9 consecutive in races. So, I mean, that's good for the team. You're not losing too many points there. So yeah, Norris
yeah,
P7, Alonso P6. Alonso has been a very quiet race for Alonso. He's not had to do much and not being seen much, but he's had a very solid race. Sainz getting to P5 after making 2 pit stops and a 5-second penalty for an unsafe release. Perez P4 after losing out his podium place just after the virtual safety car. Russell
yeah.
P3, Hamilton P2, and Verstappen P1. After Leclerc crashing, he just put it on autopilot and he was just sailing through.
Yeah, I think in the first few laps at least, it was just nice to see Leclerc pulling Verstappen, and there was like a 5 to 7 seconds gap between Verstappen and Hamilton.
Right.
And after that, the gap just builds on. Like I was a little like not wanting the safety car towards the end because I knew it will just, slow them all down.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, so we have Charles going out on lap 17.
Oh God.
I don't know when his wins are going to be complete again.
Yeah. Soon. Another 4 races in
Yeah.
Brazil.
I think overall for Carlos, he could have managed podium places, but it was
Yeah.
just a sad race.
Yeah. Just felt bad, but yeah, happy for George Russell. Happy that he and Lewis got to finally share a podium together.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's see where the drivers did finish with the pit stops. Okay, then we had Red Bull putting up the fastest pit stop. I mean, yeah, that doesn't hurt when your driver is also leading. Alpha Tauri P2 and McLaren finishing third with Ricardo. Though that's good pit stop. The sub three
Yeah.
pit stops are actually really good, and that too, most of them were behind the virtual safety car, so they did have to double stack also. So considering that, these are some really good timings from the teams.
Yeah, but like there's a huge difference between the first and the 10th. Like it's a whole
Yes.
minute, which we didn't see earlier. Like
No,
right
but like
now,
I will still say the first one was because Max didn't stop behind the virtual safety car, so they did have to be a little quicker with him.
yeah,
But with the rest of them, they were double stacking them. So
yeah,
yeah,
that was
I do see where they're coming from. Yeah.
okay. So the driver standings.
Okay. Verstappen's lead is just growing and growing. It's become 63 points right now.
Okay, so if Verstappen didn't have the two DNFs and
Okay.
Leclerc didn't have his DNFs, and if he didn't spin in Imola, then
Yeah.
there would have been a 36 points for Verstappen and 78 points for Leclerc, but Verstappen still would have led.
Wow. I mean, that just proves how dominant he's been.
Exactly. So
Another stat that I read and I was very impressed with uh, was that if Charles finishes first in every race and Verstappen finishes P2 and gets the fastest lap also every race, then two Verstappen
he
will end
will
up
win.
winning it because he will have his 63 points right now are so critical
Yeah.
that it's very, very difficult for Charles to come back.
Yeah, and like we know that Ferrari is better. Red Bull is not as good this season, but at the
Yeah,
same time, we are seeing how good Verstappen is. It just shows how a champion knows how he has to do his
correct.
things.
When he doesn't make any mistakes, he knows how to push and he knows
Yeah.
when to like cruise off properly. So yeah, it's getting pretty interesting and close between Sainz and Perez and Leclerc as well. So that P2 also might
And
get
Russell
heated
is
up.
there. He's
Yeah,
just
Russell's also
one.
right there. Russell's right there. So
Yeah.
yeah, then the gap is too big. So the like from the top three, the gap is pretty insane. As we'll see in the constructors also.
Okay, so firstly, Hamilton has scored quite a few points in the past few
Yes.
races.
Mercedes has picked up their pace this last couple of races. Hamilton has been very consistent. He's got it up to 81 points, where Verstappen's got 123, Sainz got 79, Perez
I think
78, and Russell 69.
Ferrari is going to be very happy seeing Leclerc at 66
Why is that?
because that's what they want. They want to mess up the races.
I mean, yeah, but Leclerc's was clearly not his fault in two races.
Yeah,
Not their fault. He did make mistakes.
he did
So
yeah,
yeah,
mention it.
yeah,
Okay, that
yeah.
is just
This
a
is
full.
this is a big gap. I don't think Ferrari's coming back from here for sure. Uh, like these three standings are as they will be, but the drop off is massive. It's a 180-point drop off between Mercedes and Alpine, and Alpine to McLaren is 4 points. So they are essentially the fight for P4 at this point. So
Yeah, and we've seen that for Alpine at this point, at least, Ocon and Alonso both are performing pretty good.
yeah,
So that has been a good reason for them to go up.
correct. Yeah, McLaren 89, Alfa Romeo 51 on a bulk of points that Valtteri Bottas scored in the earlier part of the season. Alfa Tauri and then Haas, Alfa Tauri, Aston Martin, and Williams.
Okay.
So these are points if you got inverse points as it's correctly mentioned. Uh, so the whoever finishes P20 gets 25 points, 18, 15, 12, 10, 8, 4, 3, 2, 1. And the slowest lap also gets 1 point. So
And DNF.
and a DNF also gets 26 points. So you see how consistent the Mercedes have been. They've not been getting the maximum number of points, but they've just been there that to not pick up those points, not finish outside the P10s, not DNFs, always completing a race. So yeah, that's been really, really, really good for them. And you have Nicholas, as you can expect, with the highest points here. Kevin Magnussen has a higher number of points compared to what he's done. So he's either done really well and got his team points, or he's just DNF'd and lost out the points.
Yeah. I saw another hot take. So we see that there is so much competition for every seat in F1.
Correct.
And there was another question that should the driver who scored the least amount of points in a championship be replaced by a rookie?
Yeah,
So
I heard of that, like an F2 swap with an F1 blast with swaps with an F2 winner. Uh, I mean, if that was there, I would take it 2 years back with Oscar Piastri just swapping in for Nicholas Latifi. But a couple of years back, that last person swap would have been George Russell if you didn't, because he was in a Williams who didn't score any points and he was out qualified a couple of times also by Latifi. So in the 2020 season, maybe you would have swapped him out for Oscar Piastri. So yeah, who knows? I technically don't agree with that because a lot of drivers don't really just come from F2. You
yeah,
have all these rumors of McLaren getting their drivers from IndyCar for next season, so you never know what's happening there. But yeah, I mean that's a good idea. I like the
but like
idea of
okay,
a football
if
season. and you have
if it's
relegations.
not to just in general the last driver to be replaced.
Yeah, I don't mind that. Like Mazepin would have gone last year, Latifi will go this year, and I mean I do think that is going to happen. Like Mazepin did go not because he was not performing, and Latifi also I think will not retain his seat next year. So yeah,
Yeah.
that might happen.
Okay, moving ahead.
Moving ahead to
The
our
last
final
segment.
segment. So yeah, just another recap for everybody. We tend to rank the drivers from 0 to 10, not just for the race, but also on their whole how their whole
Rate the
weekend has
drivers,
been.
not rank. Rate the
Yes,
drivers.
the drivers, not the team, on basis of how their whole weekend went. So yeah, Yuki.
Yuki was doing pretty decent, I would say,
Yeah, he
for him.
outqualified his teammate pretty well.
Exactly.
Just
Exactly.
got tapped by Ocon and lost his entire race.
I would say a 6.5,
Yeah,
7,
6.57 for sure. He did have a
because
good,
he was starting at 8th
yeah,
position.
where you had his teammate at P16. So he really did put in a fantastic quality performance.
Yeah,
He would have held those positions as well, but just that tap from Ocon and it didn't work out for them at all.
yeah.
Yeah,
Charge.
a 4. He had a great quali, but it was his mistake because of which the team lost a bulk of points and he lost a bulk of points. Uh, I'm not saying that he would have not got pole without Sainz's toe. He still would have got pole, but yeah, just crashing out and getting 0 points. It doesn't matter how well you do on Saturday if you don't get points on Sunday. So yeah, 4 for me.
Definitely. I would say it's a 5.5 because it's the whole weekend. I agree the race was his mistake, but at the
Yeah.
same time, it's the weekend that I'm taking into consideration.
Okay. Kevin.
Magnussen. Didn't qualify well, didn't do much,
No, actually, he
4.5.
did qualify well. He got into
Oh,
Q3 for no reason at all.
yeah,
Uh,
he had a good quali, but
yeah,
so we saw Haas change their strategies in the middle of the
yeah. Like
race.
I don't know what is happening with their strategies. Also, did they hire somebody from Ferrari?
They just went back to 2020,
Yeah,
2021.
yeah.
Yeah, so for the quali and everything, I would give him a 5.56.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Latifi um didn't qualify well,
Very
didn't do
mediocre. 3.
race. Yeah. Joe,
Joe as well. P16 to P16. 3.5, 4,
yeah,
3.
yeah.
Um, Mick
Mick
also.
the same.
Yeah, same. Valtteri started
Bottas,
P11, ended up P14.
sorry,
Um,
uh,
I agree
same.
the Alpha was not as good a car it has been in the recent past, but yeah, that's still not a great performance. He did do well into get to P14. So sorry, get to P11 and then to P14. Um, that too, it's
Yeah.
not P11 actually, it's P13, right? He gets progress
He
because
qualified
Carlos.
P13 and he
Yeah,
started P11.
correct.
So for
I think a
4.5,
4, yeah, for 4.5. Alex Albon also the same, not
Albon,
much to talk more there.
yeah.
Uh,
The
Pierre,
Gasly out qualified by his teammate.
yeah,
So 5.
a 4, yeah, 4.5, 5.
Vettel
Vettel P12,
qualified.
yeah,
Uh,
out qualified his teammate but didn't get into points like his teammate.
yes.
Um, I think a 5.5, 5.
Yeah.
Uh,
Lance Stroll,
Lance had a solid performance. He didn't make it to Q2, but he did have a good race and he did score some points for his team. Sorry, he scored 1 point for his team, not some. A 6,
he
I
tried
think.
to he tried to copy Kimi. Leave
Yeah,
me alone.
leave me alone. And he almost crashed into Vettel in the last corner.
Yeah. So I think
A
5.
6, a 6. I think a
Yeah,
6. He just got
5.5.
points.
Yeah, okay, 6. Ricardo
Daniel
qualified.
P11.
Uh, yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah,
Raced pretty good. Defended Ocon for a very long time.
yeah. I think a six
So
and a
it's
half.
7.
No, Mika can't be so
Ocon,
biased.
I am sorry. Ocon had had contact with Yuki.
Yeah.
Was pretty good, but I think a 6.5, 7.
Yeah, I agree. 6.5, 7 would work. Like it was his mistake that Yuki went though, so I don't know. I would like deduct point for that. Other than that, yeah, Lando did really well with his quali, really, really well. Ended up P7 where his pace technically is. So I would say a 7, 7.5, just for the quali performance.
Definitely. Alonso was thinking of strategies in the middle of the race. Qualified well, performed well. He
Yeah,
gets an 8.
I agree with that. Spotless performance. He did the best he could. Yeah, 8 points for that.
Sainz
Carlos Sainz,
did really well,
after
and
all the strategy mishaps, he did still manage to finish in the top five. I think a 9, just because of how an extra point just for his Q2 lap. That was just
yeah,
beautiful.
definitely. Perez, he did pretty decent over the
Yeah,
weekend. It's
he
not
did lose
his
out on a
fault that
point.
he couldn't reach the podium.
Yeah,
So I'm gonna say an 8,
yeah, I
8.5.
would agree. A 7.5, 8.
Yeah.
George Russell. I'm just gonna deduct
George,
1 point for him getting Toto on the radio and making him shut up for moaning and complaining so much. Uh, he had a lot going for him. People were cracking all these. George Russell is the type of guy, and everything like
yeah,
that was happening. It was good fun, but just for his performance, that's an 8.
definitely. Lewis
I think that's a 10.
couldn't,
I think that's a
yeah,
10. Just in that car and those performance on his 300th race and
his
just
water was
everything.
also not working in
Yeah,
the car.
his water pressure was gone. He couldn't drink any water,
Yeah,
and he did great. He
bad.
qualified P4, where he is the best he could qualify. He finished P2, 10. Yeah,
Yeah. Max will get
also
uh
at 9, 9.5, 10, 9, 9. I think no mistakes as
but
such.
like if Charles didn't DNF, he would have finished
I
P2,
don't
I
think
would say.
so. I think the undercut was powerful. I think he had a great
Yeah,
outlap.
that is
He had
also,
a he had a he had a he had the fastest pit stop. He had a great.
yeah,
He started hitting purples as soon as he
I
got
think
out of
I
this
agree.
thing. So his undercut was powerful. So that would have, like, you just know how frustrated people are with Ferrari and like Charles, because GP, like his race engineer, after, like, the first thing
Yeah,
he said, that there was a shame that we couldn't see how that race would have panned out, because everybody is just so excited to see them race. But yeah, we're not getting that. So yeah. Anyways, we have a next race coming up very soon that might help Ferrari redeem some points and some more.
let's go.
Yeah, let's hope so they don't screw it up this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we race in another span of 6 days in Hungary. So yeah, we guys see you after the
Last
Hungary.
time Hungary was pretty eventful
Oh yes,
from the
turn
first
one.
lap.
Turn one was beautiful, and then
Yeah,
you just had Lewis standing alone on the grid, and you had a surprise winner win, Esteban Ocon. So that should be some good memories.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Let's
this is
hope
it
it's as
from.
good.
Yeah, we do hope is almost, even if it's half as good. We
I
need a
think it'd be
Bottas
fun to
rolling
have another
rolling into
new winner.
everybody.
It'd be fun to have another new winner.
I have my eyes on Lando and Russell then. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, so that's it from this week's episode of the F1 Grid View. Bye bye.
Bye. Good night.